unsure if I'm unsure. I'm just a big shot who's coming up short. I'm just a little boy trapped in a grown man's body. Only time I ever want is when I know I ain't got it. So give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that, give me that, give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that piece. You know it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Need a little something more. 5, 6, 7, 8. All that other shit can wait. 9, 10, 11, 12. Why'd I do this to myself? I need some beats right now. I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4. Need a little something more. 5, 6, 7, 8. All that other shit can wait. 9, 10, 11, 12. Why'd I do this to myself? I need some beats right now. I'm trying to make mine. The time is on my side and that's a great sign. Going with the flow, I never swam a straight line. My ocean at the moment's only feeling waist high. So maybe I can stay afloat and take a stage dive to the deep part of it. I don't have to say why, y'all don't even bother me. Hit you with the face palm. If you keep hollering, I'll pop you, then it's over. Make you Leviosa on some Harry Potter shit. Yeah, I will not admit, yeah, I'm dishonest with, yeah, my own consciousness. I kinda miss the obvious, yeah. Plus I got a bitch, yeah, but I know life's a bitch. I guess that makes me polyamorous. That's probably cause I have nots, always want more. That's why there's bad locks on the front door. That's why the window blinds don't never shine lighted. The bad side of life seems so inviting. So I'm unsure if I'm unsure. I'm just a big shot who's coming up short. I'm just a little boy trapped in a grown man's body. Only time I ever want is when I know I ain't got it. So give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that. Oh well, the have-nots always want more. That's why there's bad locks on the front door. That's why the window blinds don't never shine lighted. The bad side of life seems so inviting. So I'm unsure if I'm unsure. I'm just a big shot who's coming up short. I'm just a little boy trapped in a grown man's body. Only time I ever want is when I know I ain't got it. So give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that, give me that, give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that piece. You know it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Need a little something more. 5, 6, 7, 8. All that other shit can wait. 9, 10, 11, 12. Why'd I do this to myself? I need some beats right now. I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4. Need a little something more. 5, 6, 7, 8. All that other shit can wait. 9, 10, 11, 12. Why'd I do this to myself? I need some beats right now. I'm trying to make mine. The time is on my side and that's a great sign. Going with the flow, I never swam a straight line. My ocean at the moment's only feeling waist high. So maybe I can stay afloat and take a stage dive to the deep part of it. I don't have to say why, y'all don't even bother me. Hit you with the face palm. If you keep hollering, I'll pop you, then it's over. Make you Leviosa on some Harry Potter shit. Yeah, I will not admit, yeah, I'm dishonest with, yeah, my own consciousness. I kinda miss the obvious, yeah. Plus I got a bitch, yeah, but I know life's a bitch. I guess that makes me polyamorous. That's probably cause I have nots, always want more. That's why there's bad locks on the front door. That's why the window blinds don't never shine lighted. The bad side of life seems so inviting. So I'm unsure if I'm unsure. I'm just a big shot who's coming up short. I'm just a little boy trapped in a grown man's body. Only time I ever want is when I know I ain't got it. So give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that, give me that, give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that piece. Give me that piece. You know it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Need a little something more. 5, 6, 7, 8. All that other shit can wait. 9, 10, 11, 12. Why'd I do this to myself? I need some beats right now. I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4. Need a little something more. 5, 6, 7, 8. All that other shit can wait. 9, 10, 11, 12. Why'd I do this to myself? I need some beats right now. Give me that. Give me that. I need some beats right now. Yeah. Give me that. Give me that. I need some beats right now.
What's going on, traders? Welcome back to another live stream. Happy Monday, August 11th, if you're new. My name is Zach. This is Real Deal Futures. Before we jump onto the charts, make sure you read what's on the screen. Trading is risky. Most traders lose money. If you trade, you're probably going to lose all your money. Silly thing to do. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't provide financial advice. Nothing I say or do is a suggestion or recommendation to do anything at all. Do your own research. Make your own trading decisions. This is for entertainment purposes only. I'm just an idiot here yapping on YouTube for fun. Also, read CFTC Rule 4.41 on simulated trading, which is what this is, even in funded prop firm accounts. And the affiliate and partnership disclaimer that says I stand to make money from links and codes in my content, like Top 1 Futures, code RDF, Bookmap, and others. Let's hop on to these charts. Good morning, chat. How are y'all doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Let's take a look and see what we got going on here on ES. What's up, Apps? What's up, Chuck? What's up, Wolf? What's up, Andrew? Got a quiet Monday. You guys are quiet in Discord. You guys are quiet on the live. You guys are quiet everywhere, man. What's up, Ralph? What's happening, my man? What's going on? The boys and girls on Kick, on YouTube, on X. What's up, Twitter? What's up, YouTube? What's going on, Kick? Ralph with the sunglass emoji. What's going on, man? All right. We're going to be taking a look at ES, seeing if we can't kick off this week, have a little bit better week than I had last week. I can't really complain because towards the end of the week, we ended green, right? We finished off green on the live sessions, had some solid trading, had some fun getting warmed up, scalping NQ on the 1 minute chart, especially for Power Hour. Had a lot of fun doing that. And so much fun and so much good results and a challenge that I've really had for myself that I may start to look at NQ during this main NYSE session. Now, it's not really the conditions that I like for NQ. NQ is just so damn fast moving and volatile. But I do really enjoy getting zoomed in and attempting to challenge myself. Try to work within work on something that I feel really good doing, right? That I feel like I do have just a genuine edge when it comes down to discretion and intuition. I feel like I trade well, very zoomed in that way. But, you know, it can go quickly well or poorly. So anyway, I'm trailing off. I digress, as they say. Let's take a look at ES here on the daily chart, because that's what we're focusing on here this morning for NYSE Open for a couple hours. Pushed in the upside overall, higher time frame view, looked at the daily. We wicked above here on the 1st coming into this month, sold off really aggressively, had one of the worst days in a couple of months. Really erased that the following day, pushed back up, and closed out the week up near all-time highs, kind of testing around this level. So sitting up here overlapping, as you can see, we have prior day high, prior week high, and overnight high. Overnight low down here, prior day low down here, prior week low all the way down here. So, you know, are we just going to continue this blast off? Is this a pullback before continuation? Are we going to come back down and sweep these lows again? Are we going to start to do this, you know, start to consolidate here a little bit? I think we could see one of these motions. I don't know that we just immediately pull back and blast off, but I'm not really here to speculate on higher time frames. I just like to have an idea of what's going on. Are we on our second huge, biggest, you know, bearish bar that we haven't had in months? I kind of want to be aware of that, right? Are we pushing back off after finding some support, sweeping lows down here like we are right now, back towards all-time highs? I want to be aware of that. The 1 minute chart is very zoomed in. I do like to focus on it, right? And my trades are not based off of the daily, but I like to have context of kind of where we are in that higher time frame structure. It can help keep me out of getting involved in something maybe that I shouldn't be, or just have a little bit more of understanding of what kind of what kind of market are we in from a trend perspective. So jumping back down to the 15-minute, we can see this a little bit more granular view, right? Last week, last few days of August 1st, August 3rd. What was the start? Why do I have my prior week low down here? Yep, that makes sense. It's in the right spot. Okay, just double checking the chart markup, right? It's Monday morning. Yeah, so we're really pushing off from there. We've got a little bit of an uptrend rolling here over the last few days, right? Last week of data. Consolidating up here, opening up below VWAP. Let's take a look at what happened from session changeover until now, and we'll talk about what we got for the rest of the day by way of news. The rest of the week, just start to get situated here. Pretty choppy session after finishing a nice bullish move on Friday. Looking at session changeover here. Sunday the 10th into Monday today the 11th. Right now 9:38 a.m. Eastern on Monday the 11th. Pretty choppy, right? Back and forth. Cracking above Prior day high, prior week high up here, putting our overnight high in, but some real back and forth movement here, right? We were pushed on the upside through Asia. London opened up, sold off really harshly, right down to the bottom here. Just the first hour of trading, popped right back up, swept Friday's high, right back down, and now we're kind of coming back up to VWAP here. Opened up to the downside right here, 9:30 a.m., and now we're starting to pop back up to the upside. I could see some nice, mean reversion style trades, right? Back to VWAP. That's the way that I trade ES. It's the same stuff day in and day out. Gonna wait to let this market open up here as we come back towards VWAP. I think the closest setup that I would have would be a potential long play. Let me just make sure I have Bookmap loaded up nicely here. Yeah, if we start to sell off through that overnight low level, right? If we start to come down here off this overnight low level, before we talk about news, before we talk about what we got coming up this week, just want to frame, potential trade ideas setting up. If we swept down below there, let's say the 410s to 6400s, oh, no, 6400s would be way down here. 6405s, let's say, somewhere down into this zone, I wouldn't mind a long back towards VWAP. I'd be kind of a sweep down here. Yeah, I wouldn't mind a pull back down. Sorry, I don't mean the sound effects here, guys. I wouldn't mind a pull back down here for a long, right? Look for a sweep down below this level, that we're not going to turn this into a completely bearish day and just sell off. Maybe we sweep down below here, come back up, push the highs, challenge the highs, or at least revert back down, back up towards VWAP. Conversely, anywhere up here, I'm going to look short. I'm going to look for a sweep anywhere up here to look for a potential short. Maybe it's overnight high, prior week high, prior day high, somewhere up into this key level. I think it would be very uncommon that we just blast directly through it, as is the way that I trade here. So I could see something off the 25s, for example, all the way up through towards the 30s and above. It just depends on what order flow looks like, right? What price action market structure looks like if we get up here and if we get down here, right? I'm going to apply some discretion based on what the heck's going on, right? When exactly I want to hit that buy or sell button. So just getting a feel for volatility. Yeah, we can manage here on ES. We were getting a little bit of movement last week, and it was getting a little bit dicey with just one contract. I actually dropped at one point last week to a micro chart on ES just so I could have a normal risk structure. So let's see what we get here. But going forward, continuing our analysis, let's take a look at the scheduled news events. I did see something pop up that wasn't there before. This is forexfactory.com. Financial news site where you can take a look at what's going on by way of scheduled news events, right? High impact, medium impact, low impact, all that fun stuff. We have Trump speaking. This one came on, event added to the calendar, right? So they throw a little star here. I've watched Forex Factory for a while, so this stuff stands out to me. This was not scheduled coming into like yesterday when I posted all this, which I post every week in the free Discord. This one wasn't posted. So we got Trump yapping at 10, press conference about law enforcement in the District of Columbia at the White House. He's an insane market mover these days. Like the tariff talk, the comments out of the U.S. administration, like seem to move markets almost even more than or equal to like scheduled red folder news events. So I'm becoming more and more cautious around those times. So that's probably going to jack this session up quite a bit. I would be aware of it. You could decide to say, hey, I don't want to trade at all. You could decide to say, hey, I'm just going to structure risk maybe in a different way, maybe cut my position size in half. You could say, I'm going to do what I always do. Or you could go the complete opposite and say, Trump talking, we're about to get big time volatility, a lot of momentum. I'm sizing up. This is my time to shine. So there's not a wrong or a right way to do it, but I think being aware of it and expecting it is important. I think being blindsided by it is the only way not to do it, right? It's really the beginner move of continually just getting smoked by price action. So real quick, looking at the rest of the week before we hop back onto the charts. 8:30 a.m. CPI tomorrow. That should be pretty heavy. I would expect some serious volatility out of that. Not too much on Wednesday. Crude oil. We got some FOMC speakers this week. Any of them also stands the risk to just send the market rolling, but nothing too crazy. Core PPI And unemployment, 8:30 on Thursday. That could be pretty interesting. I would expect some volatility there. And then Friday, we got a little bit more. So it's not a super duper heavy news week, but it's not light. Definitely not light. So I'd be cautious of this stuff. I would also try to stay up on anything that gets added where we got the U.S. administration making comments or speaking or holding press conferences or whatever it is, because that's been sending the markets crazy. So that's what we got. I mentioned the Discord. I'll throw this in chat right here, guys. 100% free trading Discord. More than happy to have y'all in there. What's up, Carlos? What's up, Neo? What's up, Momentum? Good morning. Good morning. What's going on, Dwayne? What's up, Andrew? And Wolf and Chuck and Apps. I think I mentioned you guys already. Good morning to all. Hope everybody has a great week of trading. Stick to your rules. Be disciplined. Don't chase dopamine. That is a great Monday morning reminder, Wolf. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all hopping on as always. Let's see what we get, man. Let's see what we get. I'm focused up, caffeinated, ready to go on a Monday. Start this week off right, man. And that means following our rules, right? We don't know if we're going to take wins or losses, but we do know that if we follow our rules, follow our guidelines, trade the way that we're supposed to trade, right? Manage risk well, we stand a chance to make money in the long run. We can do whatever we want to do. We can randomly enter. It takes no skill or anything to put on a winning trade. We could just smash the buy or sell button and get lucky, right? You can get lucky. You can put on a series of winning trades. But to do that consistently, that's the key. That's the key. We'll see what we got. Yeah, we got Trump talking today, guys, and then a decent amount of news. So this is kind of considered a no-news Monday. Traditionally, a no-news Monday is going to be choppy, consolidating, rangy price action. I try not to carry that entire bias. It's kind of the way that I trade anyway. But try not to carry that bias, but I like to make us aware of that, right? I think it would be, be silly not to talk about that. Let's see what we get. Chat. Let's see what we get. Yeah, I'd really like this long today. I would really like this long. I'm trying to do one thing here on ES and be cautious fading moves to the upside, unless we have a key level like we do today and order flow is lining up really cleanly. So I would really like this long. I really wouldn't mind this long anywhere from like the 405s for sure all the way down. I think this would be like a really big push lower. So I don't know that I would want to wait for that. I definitely would be looking long before that, but I wouldn't mind a long on a push down here at all. I'd look for it aggressively long down here. The 400s would be a nice round psychological number, but I think the bottom end here we go. Let's zoom out a little bit. Frame some trades here. I would really like this long. I think it could be choppy. I think it could be just back and forth, and we might not really get any kind of sweep. We can just kind of drift around VWAP. Especially we got Trump talking at 10. That might be like a lot of gas, feet coming off the gas and saying, forget this no news Monday. let's get past, some of this news we have coming up, CPI, wait for market participants to start to step in. But for today, I would definitely like a long from down here. No problem jumping in. And if I got to take an L on that, absolutely happy to do that. So that's trade idea number one for sure. And the preferred direction to trade. I really have reviewed and, NQ scalping like super aggressively like we're doing for Power Hour. And I'll be live again 3 p.m. Eastern today for Power Hour. That's, much more like flexible when it comes to direction. I'm really disregarding every other time frame. I'm just completely zoomed in. Here on ES, I am trading with a 10-point stop, which isn't huge. But I'm looking for a decent move, nice reversion, and a back towards that middle ground. But also just these directional movements we've been happening. These selling off, these bearish movements have just not been sustained. Every dip seems to get bought right back up. If we get a down day, it's kind of few and far between in this higher time frame structure. So I'm trying to become a little bit more cautious on slapping that sell button. Key level, really clean setup, CVD lining up, liquidity on Bookmap getting taken, and then a reversion looking really nice from price action. I'm definitely taking it, but the buys have just been much easier wins, and that, that's pretty obvious, right? Like, when the market's, I don't mean to zoom that far out, but when the market's doing this, for example, right, through April and, May and June, right, what would have played better here at any random time, right? This is not 100% random market conditions. If you were just slapping the buy and sell button, right? Pressing buys, you would have generated a more positive win rate, right? We just have prices moving up from X point to X point, right? That means there's more ticks in the upward direction than there are in the downward direction. Overall, we have buyers driving price higher. So, getting consistently short being just a bear here, you probably would have struggled a little bit. Now, if you're super zoomed in, like we talked about, trading the 1 minute chart, really, really hyper zoomed in, sure, you can make it work all day. But it's worth noting that these intraday movements, for example, zoomed out on the 1 minute, these dips are getting bought up, man. Really getting bought up. And until we really turn to the downside and start selling off day over day, really, really aggressively, I think being cautious can help. So anyway, that's my thought process coming into the morning. Just a little bit of a review. ES has been all right to trade. Last week was kind of trash. Just had these push right off the open in one direction, and I typically get cooked when that happens. I looked for my trade back towards an area of volume. We don't get that. We just keep pushed in one direction. So we'll see what this week's got for me. Trading 64.13, 64.14. We got some liquidity right down at the 64.10s, right? I'm not going to take it from down here, but that would be an interesting sweep right below session lows. It's close to this overnight low level. I think we could see a bounce there. If we sell off right through that, I'm looking for the 64.05s for a potential long down here. Nice wide stop loss. Probably I probably wouldn't want to be out if I was looking to get long on this down below overnight low. I probably wouldn't want to be out until way down into like the 63.90s or even below. So this does not look bad. Does not look bad. Let's see. Start to sell off. Getting a little wiggly here. I think we come right through these 10s. If I was scalping ES here for 2 points, I think that's where the target would be. 2.5 points, 64.10s. Interested to see what we have down here. Let's take a look. CVD dropping off a little bit, but again, not a ton of movement. Again, not uncommon. Not uncommon for this. There we go. Right through these 10s. Let's see. I think what could happen today, on a day like today, I think we could just take this level and then start to pop right back up. I'm not gonna get that involved that quickly. I'm not gonna be that aggressive where I want to try it here, take a loss, try it here, take a loss. I don't have to get involved up here. I want to see us sweep overnight low for sure. Nice key level on my chart. Pulled back a little bit further down, give me an entry down here. Nice wide stop loss way down below whatever, these prices are showing the chart, 95s, maybe 90, 93, something like that. But this could be all we have to do today. Again, choppy consolidating, low volume, small range days for no news Mondays are common, but I'm not going to get that aggressive where I say, okay, I want to start taking stop outs because I want to try it up here. And then I just don't want to put the risk on. I want to try it again, or I want to run one really huge stop loss on it, something like that. So anyway, let's see what the market's got for us. Dwayne, well done. Where is it under? Hey guys, who caught that MNQ? I'm done. Nice. Get paid on. Nice. Trader Julie Kate getting paid. Love it. Good morning, Free Zeeks. Yeah, so you can go right into, what's up, Trader Julie Kate? You can go right into watch my last YouTube video if you want to see exactly where it is. There you go. That's the answer. Go right into the Top 1 Futures dashboard. You log into the dashboard, not Project X, right? You log into that dashboard. You log in through the email. Yeah, that's the bounce right back up. You can log in through the email. You can go straight to the site. And there's a button when you click on whatever account that you're eligible for a payout from that says request payout. That's how you would request a payout. You don't have to wait for the market to close or wait for anything. As soon as you hit it with all of the objectives, you can request a payout. That's the answer there. And one little tip that I would throw in there, I would definitely make sure you have Rise set up. You can wait for the invitation from them for your first payout. But I would make sure you have Rise set up ahead of time if you can. RISE, that's the payment processor. And I would also connect a bank account to Rise, because one thing that was kind of annoying for me, and this doesn't have anything to do with Top 1, since it goes through Rise and you have to set up Rise, whenever you set it up, I've been have it set up. When you connect a bank account or however you're going to withdraw, that takes it took me 5 or 6 days to get the bank account verified where you can actually withdraw the money. So you get paid out by them, and they're a little bit delayed on payout speed right now. I've noticed that for sure. But by the time it gets to Rise, you want to be able to get that money to your bank account. You don't want to wait another X amount of days, from when they pay you out, because you got to get a bank account verified on Rise. So I would do that ahead of time if you can. Maybe my 2 cents. Cash trades. Does the VWAP adjust when you change the time frame? No. One thing that happens on Project X that's kind of weird and just glitchy on Project X specifically across firms that use Project X is the VWAP changes based on you not scrolling all the way back in and out. But for example, we can look at this together. 64.17 is where VWAP is, right? I go to the 5 minute, it's at 64.17, right? I go to the 30 minute, VWAP still at 64.17. So the volume weighted average price is not going to change based on the time frame that you're on. Similarly, different than how sometimes different moving average calculations would change based on what time frame you're on, right? It's calculating a specific moving average for a period of bars within a time frame, which is going to be different, right? Different information. But no, VWAP does not change. One thing that's important to note, watch this. I'll show you a problem here, right? If I come to the 15 minute, right, we know where VWAP is supposed to be, and then I come back into the 1 minute, VWAP is jacked up now, right? It's in a different spot. Watch what happens when I start to scroll out. Why is it in a different spot? Because I'm not loading data all the way back to where the VWAP is anchored. I have to scroll all the way back out to see it moving around to here, where this VWAP is anchored to. This is a standard session VWAP, gets anchored to session changeover every single day. You got to scroll back out. That's specific to Project X, and it's kind of a weird, glitchy thing. They know about it. Everybody's complained about it for a long time. TradingView doesn't do that on its own. So This looks bullish, guys. This looks bullish. I was fearful that this would happen, that we would trade right. We didn't even take liquidity at the 64.10, so this wouldn't even be a setup if I said I want to get aggressive right here. Wouldn't have even had an entry, so this is definitely nothing close to a missed trade for me. But was fearful of this happening where we just start to kind of chop around and not really provide great trading opportunity. But we're going to hang out. I'm going to see what we get. Retesting VWAP again. Do we sell back off here? I don't like that as much for a long. I like a long through VWAP, but I really just, I don't want to do that either. That's not as great of a trade setup as a pullback through and then a continuation up. But this is looking like we want to push to the upside here. Got a nice growing CVD. We didn't want to come lower. Didn't want to sweep. Didn't want to sweep these 6400s. Looks like we could be going back up towards the 25s. Gun to my head now. That's where it looks like we're going. This is not a terrible long, right? Even from like a 15-minute perspective. Long wicks to the downside. Sellers can't take it lower. Stop loss, down below this overnight low for a nice big ride this bad boy to the upside. Come and sweep overnight high. It's just a dead set in the middle of this range trade. And I really don't like these as much. I just don't like these nearly as much. I like to take it from the extreme, right? If I can designate a range and maybe a little bit of a trend, I like to fade the short-term price movement, which would be a push lower for continuation up. Why? Why do I like to do that? Well, I like to be dead wrong if I'm wrong, right? I like to say I got long and the market just absolutely sold off, because unless that happens, even if we kind of chop and range around, I have less chance of getting stopped out, right? Like let's make this a little bit clearer. If I enter here, I have a good reason to, right? We're bullish overall. Sellers are failing to take it lower. Like this is fine. I don't think this is a terribly dumb trade to take. But I am entering in the middle of this range, right? And if we chop around a little bit more, like this, we could easily do this, right? And I wasn't hard. I was wrong because my stop loss was here, right? But we swept a low, a level that wasn't touched before, and now we continued in the direction. I find it much less likely if I'm entering at the extreme of a range that we come down to the area, chop around, take me out, and then continue. I'm usually either going to get the trade to work out really nicely and catch the bounce, or I'm going to get absolutely smoked, right? Because I'm either right or wrong. It doesn't always work like that. And sure, there will be times where I enter here, and I just get wicked out perfectly, right? That could absolutely happen. But the middle of the range trades for me personally, I think maybe it's just my personality, my preference. Maybe it's not objectively any better or worse. Probably not. I just find these more difficult to deal with. When I get stuck in a trade that chops for forever because I entered dead set at VWAP, I find those to be a little bit more difficult to deal with. I like a level maybe that swept, like we came down here, I didn't take it, and then we're coming really aggressively back up, and I look to take it here with a stop loss right here where I say, if we come back through this level, I'm dead wrong, right? Sure, we could sweep it and then come back in, but clean invalidation point. So I just don't find middle of the areas, the top and the bottom of a range to be that clear of an invalidation point. I think we could easily sweep down here and then come back up. So that's just kind of explaining my reading of price action, market structure, my thoughts for not getting involved. So again, guys, I'm not looking to jump into anything too crazy, get stupid aggressive on a no news Monday. It's 10 a.m. We got Trump probably starting to talk soon. Got a press conference from him. We could see some gnarly volatility come into this market at any time. But if I had a gun to my head, which I don't, thank God, I'd be long. If I had to pick a direction, I would be long. And if I had to throw a stop loss in, I wouldn't want it to be here because I don't think that's a good invalidation point, but it would be below a level of structure. Maybe way, way, way low, but that wouldn't make for a good risk structure because what do I think for a target on a long if I had to take a trade? Somewhere up here, prior day high, prior week high, right? So I wouldn't be able to really structure a trade like this unless it was a really wide negative risk to reward, right? If my target's here, I can't really, I don't want a stop loss down here. That's not the setup here on ES, right? And if I have a stop loss right here, I think that's not a great spot to have a stop loss. So long way of saying I don't have a trade setup. Long way of talking about the market, giving you my perspective, my subjective interpretation of price action and market structure right now. Order flow, looking at Bookmap 6410s. Here is my favorite order flow tool. 6410s, we've maintained some liquidity down here really all morning. We tapped right into it here. Didn't come through. Found some buyers here right above it as well, trading the 64.10 and a quarters. I don't know. Looks like we could come down here and kind of sell off back down towards these maybe these 05s, maybe a little bit deeper, but maybe below this overnight low level. 64.10 is above that. Again, we popped to the upside. 64.25s lining up with that, levels up above. So nothing crazy screaming at me. Almost flat on CVD. So this is just really just not a whole lot of action out of the market. And I find that when that happens, keeping myself from doing anything stupid like jumping in, 1,000 times and taking paper cuts is the way. But we'll hang out, see what the market's got for us today. We'll go from there. I completed on Friday and it was still verified today. Yeah, absolutely. But the bank takes 2 to 3 days to verify. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, mine took longer than that. Rise, for some reason, I have a US-based bank account that's been in process for a long time. Names match on everything. KYC good everywhere. Just so you guys know, I would do the Rise thing earlier. I would get set up on Rise and connect a bank account because I got all set up on Rise and everything was good. And I'm like, I'm not always looking at like, I need to have everything move fast. But then I went, okay, let me go ahead and connect my bank account. And no, it took like double that time. I don't mind to say it. It took like at least 6 days. I'd have to go back and actually see what was going on. But yeah, it took like almost a week just for the Rise bank account verification, like to connect to bank account. I want to be specific on it. Not for payout, not for something with Top 1 Futures, for specifically with Rise. So I would, if you're going to use Rise for anything, I would get it set up ahead of time. And that's just being smart about doing things early. So yeah. Let's see. You guys were asking some questions. Absolutely. But bank takes, yeah. Completed on Friday. Still waiting for verified today. Yeah. I would say you're probably not going to get the bank account. Bank account has been verified probably for a couple more days. So agree 100%. Good morning to you all. Happy week from the markets. Happy week. May the markets work in your favor. Trade the chart, set up, focus, manage the risk. Market will reward you. Like, sub, ring the bell. AVS Phoenix. Thanks, bro. Appreciate you. Yeah, dude. Good Monday motivation now to you guys. Yassine, what's up? No News Monday equals 3-day weekend for me. Yeah. For me, I don't not trade No News Monday. There's a lot of No News Mondays. I'm just cautious. I'm cautious of exactly what we've got so far here, right? I show up because you never know. Market could be moving like crazy, but I don't anticipate this. Again, I don't create a crazy bias, but I utilize the context. I understand the pattern that we traditionally see, right? So Mystic Rick said No News Monday, 3-day weekend, as in he's not going to trade. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You could write it off completely, right? I really only write off trading days that are right around holidays, right before, right after, during U.S. holidays, partial market opens and close. I just find them to be terrible to trade. So that to me is really the only time where I say I'm not trading at all. But outside of that, I'm cautious of specific days. One of my trading friends said that Top 1 is running about a week, excluding the bank verification. What's been your experience? Yeah, I'd say for the time frame right now, so they were 24 to 48. First, they were super fast. Then they were 24 to 48 hours. Most recent, for me personally, I'll speak directly from my experience, I would say you're looking at 4 to 5 day from the time that you request to the time that it hits a rise. For me, it was just under 5 days. Exact time to exact time. About 4.5 days. Top 1 Futures still a trusted firm. Many people posting payouts being denied. I would say Top 1 Futures is still an extremely trusted firm, Yassine. I have yet to see a single denial from a person who deserved to get paid out. somebody that didn't clearly violate a rule, a prohibited practice, anything along those lines. And I've reviewed a ton of them. What I think the different thing that we're seeing at Top 1 Futures is they're not putting up with sim farming. They're not going to pay people out that are sim farming. One thing that I've communicated, because I've watched some of the stuff that people posted over the weekend, right? First off, I would always say I'm biased, right? I can't be unbiased if I stand to make money. And you could say, well, Zach, you're obviously going to defend the firm that you're partnered and affiliated with. You can watch my stuff and decide that for yourself, but you're fair to make that judgment on the front end. So I always like to be transparent about that, right? Can't be unbiased if I stand to make money. That said, been trading with prop firms for quite a while. I try to give you guys my honest opinion. What I've seen from Top 1, again, is that they're not going to put up with sim farming at all. One recommendation that I've made and some stuff that I've communicated to their team is to be proactive in stopping sim farmers early, right? If you have somebody that's absolutely blowing through accounts, and we could talk about what sim farming is. If you guys don't know what sim farming is, what we're talking about when we say churning and burning accounts, rolling accounts, straight up sim farming, which is way more prevalent and less understood than I think most of us realize. We could talk about that. We can really go into detail, like, is losing a couple accounts or 12 accounts, over a couple months, or maybe even, 15, 20, whatever it is, over a couple months trying to trade well, or having one bad batch of tilt. Is that going to be a problem? Versus coming to an account with a bankroll, right? We're talking like, $5,000 to $10,000 and ripping through accounts. The one that I watched over the weekend that like blew up and everybody was talking about, the guy burned 90 accounts in under 3 months. I think he spent close to $10,000. You're not trading doing that. You're sim farming. There is a very clear game theory that can be applied to prop firms to create a positive EV with zero trading involved. We're talking about just full port YOLO, max profit, or blow the account, reset, and then continue. And again, we could talk in more detail on exactly what that is. But that's what's being banned. That's what's being not put up with for the most part. There's other stuff in there, people with the 10-second rule, other oddball stuff, right? Unique cases, people trading with multiple accounts under their family members' names and stuff like that. But the most part is the sim farming deal. The one thing that I recommended, right, that I suggested, and I'm always happy to hear your guys' suggestions, is a proactive approach, right? Automations in place to flag guys that are doing that early on before they do damage to themselves and to the firm and to everybody else, right? Because, unfortunately, you can get paid out maybe before you get caught doing that, but not really at Top 1. Not going to work well. Talked about it before. But you're violating a really clear prohibited practice doing that. And majority of firms are tightening up on that, right? See it from Top Step. They have multiple different focused trader programs. They now have limits in place, or at least they tell you where you're going to start to be limited if you go over a certain amount, that type of stuff. But yeah, that's the only stuff that I've seen. And if you guys have a case where you say, hey man, Zach, I think this is a different case. I think you should look at it. Hit me up. My DMs are open. Discord is open. Like I said, I've reviewed, I'd say at least a dozen, almost every major one that somebody had a big problem with. And there was some different stuff in there, right? But the common trend is sim farming. It's just straight up sim farming. And again, we could talk about exactly what that is in detail, right? Maybe on another live. But we could talk about what it is, how firms are tightening up because of it, and where I think the solutions can come from, and what you guys think would be good solutions for it, because I'm always interested to hear. So, yeah, that's the thought process. And again, just like I'm biased, right? Yassine, and I said from the beginning of that, and everybody else, when you're getting information, right? When you're getting information from people that are posting things, take a look at who it's coming from, right? Almost every negative piece of information on any prop firm comes from a competitive affiliate partner employee of another prop firm. It's really funny to watch, and maybe like, I don't know, maybe I'm aware of it just because I'm affiliated, I'm partnered. I try not to participate in any of that, right? You typically don't hear me hop on here and bash everybody else. I try to speak objectively and honestly. But like anytime I see something negative posted about one prop firm, for example, not even top one, it's focused energy from all partners and affiliates of 1,000 other prop firms that are not affiliated or partnered with that prop firm, or CEOs of competitive prop firms. So it's just this back and forth nonsense, really. But it's business. Everybody approaches it how they want to approach it. So let's see what we got. I noticed half those days for holidays usually have good trends, though. If that's what you noticed, Mr. Rick, you send it, brother. For me, again, we were talking about days that we like to trade and not trade. Mr. Greg was saying, and good morning, the guy. Mr. Greg was saying, no news Monday. He doesn't like to trade, which is what we're at right now. Again, guys, I don't mean yapping with you or hanging out. I got no trade. I got no setup. I don't know that I'm going to have anything, but we'll talk about different stuff. So for me, the days that I really prefer not to trade is right around major, specifically U.S. holidays, right? Number one, it just lines up really nicely to take a vacation, just to like spend time with family. But aside from that, I've gotten cooked trading over the years more often than not than I have had like a great day right around U.S. holidays. Forgetting about why, just take a look at patterns around that time. If you find they trend really nicely, send it, do your thing. I find right before, during, after, U.S. holidays, major U.S. holidays, partial closes, things like that. Low volume, low volatility, very irregular movement, rapid volatility, gaps in between, just not great. Like, for example, the week in between Christmas and New Year's, notoriously terrible price action and market structure for me, right? You might say, hey, I wonder if it's it's great for me. I've got beautiful trends that set up that time. Check it out. Just do that research yourself. But yeah, right around major US holidays, that's kind of the key. Ralph asked what happened to the guy that was banned for having his dad have the same address, have the same name, different address. Yeah, they upheld that one. They upheld that one, Ralph. They did their research and they decided that he was in violation of having. They looked at the trading as well, and they didn't provide an extreme amount of details. But here's a simple one, right? Here's a simple one, guys. You're only allowed to have one account, right? One account with a prop firm. And it can be beneficial in a lot of ways to have another account with a prop firm, maybe under your dad's name, right? If you are in an extremely uncommon situation, because I've only seen one case of this ever in my entire life, where you and a family member both trade, and not only do you both trade, but you both trade profitably. Again, like I've only seen it one time demonstrated, where it's actually a father and son. Ooh, we got some volatility. Even if that's what you're genuinely doing, around the same area, from the same addresses, from the same IP addresses, and especially if you have the same name, the exact same name, don't trade at the same firm. Maybe that's unfortunate that that's the case, but the firm is not going to be able to distinguish a person who is a mom and a daughter that trade from the same IP addresses and devices in the same household than everyone else who is attempting to trade with multiple accounts and hedge or just use more leverage. So it should be obvious not to do that. Maybe it's not. But again, 99.99% you're going to be, it's going to be foul play. Maybe the 0.01% you're going to get caught in the crossfire. But I would not do that at all. Would not do that at all. Morning, Zach. How much are you risking per trade on the 50K account payout? 300 to 600. 300 looking for a 600 TP. Kobe Clark. So here's what I'm doing at the 50Ks, right? And you're going to see this stuff on Power Hour, right? Because I'm scalping much more on those 50Ks. Casta, it does on Project X. Or we were talking about something different. So I was risking, if I was going to go with one trade, I kind of got two styles here on NQ for the 50K. One pre-market trade, one pre-market 5 a.m. trade, which is what I displayed in that video that I'm sure you watched. It was really a full risk trade. It was either going to play out and be a full take profit for the day or a full loss. If I was doing that, which is what I was primarily doing for that account, it was about a $500 risk per trade, $600 profit target, right? You're either going to completely take a stop out and you stand to lose the account in 4 days if you take straight losses, or a full take profit of $600. When I'm scalping on NQ, I want to give myself a whole bunch of trades. So we're going to be talking like $200 risk per trade, stopping myself out, around 3 to 4 back-to-back losses with absolutely no wins. And the wins are going to be whatever the wins are going to be. Discretionary with trade management on that. What about trading from Starbucks? Would that end up being an IP concern or overthinking it? No, Ralph, you're overthinking it. You can trade from different areas, right? We're talking about two different things there, Ralph. Let's say we're talking about multiple traders in the same household, using the same devices with the same last names, that type of stuff. It's just I just wouldn't try it. I wouldn't try it at all. Technically, you should be allowed maybe to do that, but it's just too much of a gray area. But traveling, if you're going to travel to multiple different countries, maybe that raises a red flag because it would look like somebody else is logging into your account. But trading from different IP addresses, not a problem. If you're genuinely traveling, not going to be a problem. Maybe they reach out and ask. You can let them know ahead of time you're traveling to a different country, stuff like that. But no, trading from a Starbucks, trading from different places, I do that all the time. I use my phone, I use my laptop. Every once in a while, I'll log in from a different machine. That's not a problem. We're talking about if you and your grandma trade, right? And you guys trade the same, or you happen to trade exactly different. Maybe you keep it on separate devices and technically you're from a different, IP address, but don't do that, guys. Don't do that. And I'm saying it with a smile on my face because most of the time we know what we're doing. It's trying to game the system. So, and again, maybe you are, I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Like maybe you are genuinely an insanely uncommon situation. You have to look at how that's going to be viewed and attempted to be policed, right? So don't put yourself in that situation. There's a ton of different firms. It's unfortunate. Maybe one of you are not going to get to trade with top one or, but don't do that. Every firm is going to flag you. Every firm. And I know firsthand a lot of people that are doing that, gaming it intentionally, right? They know what they're doing. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't try it because you're both, you risk both of you getting banned, payout denials, immediate, denials. So anyway, yeah, traveling, I think you're overthinking it. No worries. Trader Julie Kate, I understand. I churned and burned accounts early July. I had 2 friends that died in Texas floods. Wow. I'm very sorry to hear that, Julie. That sucks. Yeah. I unfortunately had to go to a celebration of life yesterday, and I think I have to go to another one tomorrow. So my heart goes out to you. That sucks. Really sorry to hear that. I had no business trading. It took me a couple of weeks to get my head straight. They may look at my accounts and say I'm a sim farmer, but life happens when there's a catastrophic loss. Don't trade. I wonder if I should email them. At this point, you've traded all the way to here's my thoughts, right? And again, guys, I'm biased and I don't get to see what actually happened. I can only take your word for it, which I've been lied to more times than I can count. And I can just give you my 2 cents. Depending on the severity of what we're talking about, Kate, I'm going to call you instead of Trader Julie Kate every time. Yeah, it could absolutely be looked at as sim farming, right? That's oftentimes what is said, right? What is said, right? That, I went on tilt, I blew a lot of accounts. It's reviewed by risk teams and it's usually pretty clear, but unfortunately, prolonged stints of tilt look similar to sim farming, right? rapidly blowing and buying and blowing and buying and over leveraging is how sim farming is done. And if you've done that on the back end just by way of tilt trading, it could throw up a flag. So, but to be honest, I don't think it's probably not too much to do at this point. If you want to share the severity that we're talking about, I'm happy to like give you my 2 cents on whether or not you're probably going to have a problem or not. Like the amount of accounts blown in the amount of time that you blew them. Because that's kind of how it first starts. And then they look at the trading itself, right? Here's what sim farming looks like. Full port risk on a very small amount of trades, either a max profit day or a blow. And then the next day, something very similar. And then as you blow, a purchase of another account, a reset, and immediately doing the same thing, because that's how you sim farm. And again, it's not to say that you can't do that, right? There was a trader's case that I reviewed that was a tough one, where, I think he might have just struggled from a really, really bad case of tilt at a really bad time, but it's directly the exact same thing as intentionally avoiding a move to live. So here's something you would have to be careful about. Another one, right? Avoiding a move to live is prohibited by really all prop firms. And what does that look like? Taking the max amount of sim payouts before going live and then blowing the account in a way that would look like it was intentional, right? And then starting from scratch. You're not allowed to do that at any firm. Why would you want to do that? People would say, well, maybe they like the leverage in sim. They find it to be less risk. Whatever reason you want to avoid a move to live, but you can't intentionally avoid a move to live if the firm wants to move you live. And you get qualified to be looked at a certain point. So with top one, that's 3 payouts from the same account in the instant fundeds, 2 payouts from the same account in the straight to fundeds. If, for example, you're copy trading 3 accounts and you trade really well and you get to 2 max payouts, and right after you take that second payout, you immediately blow all of your accounts and then attempt to start from scratch in sim, that's easily going to be flagged and looked at as an avoid to move, a intentional avoid moving to live, right? Is that not to say that you might not have suffered from the worst case of tilt that you ever suffered from at Asia session as soon as you took that second payout? Maybe, but you got to be aware of that, right? We got to be aware of these things, right? There's rules and prohibited practices, and you have to be aware of them. They're clear in place, right? So that's stuff to think about. Thank you, appreciate it. Jeff and Tanya were heroes. Damn, come on, don't do this to me on here, Trader Julie Kate. I'm all sad already. Just going to celebrations of life, and I'm honestly, it's not the person that passed that I might have to go to for tomorrow was I did know, but the person yesterday was not somebody that I knew. It's a work colleague of a family member, his mom. So it's pretty far removed, but it's still really sad when people have to deal with death and grieving. It's just tough. But so I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, no, awesome here. Did you see my reply? Andrew Baggs. Guys, we're just chatting here while this is going on. Andrew Baggs in Discord. Oh, you sent me a Discord message, brother. Yeah, I will. I'll shoot you a message, man. You sent me a Discord DM. Let me make a note. Sorry, Andrew. I'll shoot you a DM, brother. Had somebody from my the community shoot me a DM. I gotta get back to you guys. Let's see. Yeah, guys, I know we're just yapping. If you guys have questions, trading questions, you want to talk about different stuff, that's what we're talking about now. Prop firms, reasons for caution, stuff like that. We might as well do the whole sim farming talk right now. I don't mind it. Blew 6 accounts and they were copied. So basically blew 3 and the other 3 were copied. Yeah, that's not that bad. That's not that bad. I don't think you should be worried. Don't think you should be worried, Trader Julie Kate. But again, like I say that, but here's, that's not a high volume of accounts. Was it back to back? Was it like all this month? That's the follow-up question, right? Because like if you're a risk manager and you're trying to like identify these things, what does it look like? Was it like you blew 3 YOLOing them on news on Monday, and then you bought 3 more, and then on Tuesday you blew them all? It was back to back. Yeah, again, not a lot, not a high volume, so I wouldn't be too concerned. Let me know how it plays out. That's not the level that we're talking about. It's really not the level that I'd be worried about. Yeah, it's a short amount of time. But again, it's not that it doesn't happen. So, but again, they're going to look at the trading as well. So I think you're going to be fine. Let me know, again, but I can only tell from the outside and just talking and have these conversations. So I also don't have any say in this stuff, unfortunately, but let me know how it goes out in Discord. But yeah, we're traditionally talking about a lot higher volume than that before a red flag is raised, right? But again, you don't have to have a high volume to do that last part that I was talking about, right? Intentionally avoiding a move to a move to live. You don't need to blow a bunch of accounts to do that. It's just one set, depends on how it's done, right? Anyway, yeah, let me know how it goes. I think you're going to be straight. Let's see. TBM YouTube Apex Trader opened up an office in Dallas. A feeling a recipe for concern, all on a shared IP. Yeah, you could talk to the firm, Ralph. That's it's interesting. You could talk to the firm. Maybe they're not gonna worry about it. It's not so much as trading from the same. No, it is trading from the same spot, but being like a relative and trading from the same spot, or maybe crossing over of devices, like that's where it really gets clear cut. But yeah, firms have to have things in place, right? There's automations that throw up a red flag. So how are you going to catch X, Y, Z? Well, here's the flag for X and for Y and for Z, and then it gets reviewed. But here's my thoughts on this, guys, for the most part. Got knocked down, 7, stand up, 8. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, will do. Yeah, let me know. Here's the thought process, guys. If you're not doing any of this stuff, it's important to be aware of what the rules are so you don't unintentionally violate them, right? You can't follow the rules if you don't know what they are. But if you're actually attempting to trade, you're going to be fine, right? There is, and a lot of traders, like this conversation we're having, I don't think you have reason to concern. It's unfortunate because what happens is the guy that blew, this is exactly what happened early on in top 1 specifically. And again, my focus is on top 1, so I have a lot of these stories. There was a guy in Discord that really got the Discord up in arms, including myself, who was saying, I don't know what's going on. I took payouts before, and now I'm not getting paid out. I'm getting reviewed. I don't have any answers. They keep telling me I'm reviewing. This is a scam. What's going on? It was really like creating a stir, and he had a lot of people behind him saying, what's going on, dude? This is weird. This dude's been here. He's always talking in here. It turns out, and he didn't say this, of course, but it turns out the dude had bought and blown like 280 accounts, funded accounts. He had ran through accounts. Not only did he run through them in an extremely short amount of time, full port YOLOing them to payouts, he had an enormous amount on backup. It was an intentionally done thing, right? Why are you purchasing 50 accounts on one day if you're not intending to do that? And everybody goes, oh, wait a minute. What, dude? You blew how many accounts in 60 days? It's impossible, right? So, that's the level that it's done at. And of course, these, traders are not going to say, well, I was sim farming. They're going to yell and say, well, why didn't you stop me before? Why did you catch me at the end? Or I didn't know I couldn't do that. There's not a rule that says how many accounts I can purchase. So again, these rules do have to be, clear in place. Their prohibited practices maybe have to be more detailed. But in my mind, like, you know exactly the game you're running, bro. You know exactly what you're doing. And if you want to try your hand at that, do your worst, right? But it really creates issues as a whole for everybody else except for that person. And often for that person, if they get banned on the way to trying to do that, right? After they spent money, or at the end when they've spent money and the firm goes, no, you're not getting paid. So anyway, that's my humble biased opinion on this stuff. Not every case is that. And, there's stuff that gets caught in the crossfire, which we hope never, ever happens, which is why I think it can be important to recognize what the rules are, recognize what a red flag would be. But for the most part, most people are not even going to be close. Not even going to be close to this type of stuff. And the people that are getting hit for it and creating everybody up in arms, the people that I see up in arms after they find out the details, it's either affiliates and partners and CEOs of competitive firms, sim farmers themselves, or traders, beginner traders that do not understand the situation at all. Everybody else goes, yeah, bro, like you can't do that. Stop trying to do that. So again, we can have a more detailed conversation on it, but I've been rambling on it for a minute here, so I'll knock it off. Guys, this market isn't doing anything for me. This is a choppy market. That's crazy. Lol. Yeah, bro. Yeah, what level is not good? If you bought and blew 90 accounts in 2 months, that's too many, guys. You're going to have a problem. You're going to get flagged, you're going to get banned. If you're blowing through multiple sets of accounts in a week, you have to take a break. Even if you're not intentionally doing it and you're not intending to sim farm, you don't have this tactical approach, if you're going on tilt, that's too much. If you're a beginner trader and it's taking you a long time and you're blowing accounts, that's okay. Slow it down. Slow it way down. If you're having these bouts of tilt with prop firms, you're just, really struggling, but you're going to get flagged. You can't do that. You just can't do that. Because again, you're just gaming the system and you're eventually going to make it to a payout, throwing enough money at the wall. And that's, you didn't do anything in the market that would have been trading, right? You don't have any edge at all that you've displayed. You're just exploiting the loophole of smashing the reset button. So slow down, slow down. But those are the levels, right? I'd say anywhere over the 10 to 20 in a week, 20 to 30 in a month, you're too high, way too high, especially with funded accounts. You're not even taking an eval. These are funded accounts. You're just ripping through them. Maybe at other firms, maybe at bucket shops, maybe at straight up bucket shops, other firms, they really don't care. It's just a sim farm game and they're going to let you play it. But I'd be cautious because almost all of them, from what I've seen, cracking down, flagging people much more aggressively, creating these programs that limit you. You get flagged and now you're limited to one account, a month or something, or one small account until you lose it and you go again, you're looked at, all that type of stuff. So just don't do that. Or do whatever you want to do. You want to play that game, play the game. It can be very lucrative, but I think it's coming to an end, unfortunately, for you guys. All right. Chopping around here as I'm still rambling about it. Patiently waiting for Trump. Watching to see when he pops on. Look for longs. Send it, Lee. Do your thing. Snooze fest. Yeah, dude, this is trash, guys. I'm sorry. I mean, we're yapping because this is just, I got nothing here. I'm not, we want to go over to NQ and scalp. We can. We want to start playing that game, but let's take a look. Yeah, like I said I wanted to start looking at NQ, and today might be the day. I got nothing on ES, so let's do that. Hang tight, guys. I'm gonna throw up the banner for a second, and I'm gonna get a 50K account loaded up with NQ. Let's take a look, and maybe we'll look for some. I'll just watch price action on NQ. Really, I'm not really inclined to trade. NYSE session on NQ. It's just not really the conditions that I look for. Trying to make sure that I got the right account loaded up. Cool. Oh, jacked up my whole screen. Let's look at NQ. All right. We got NQ. We got a 50K account loaded up. Not sure that I want to start this in the 150Ks that I've been really just working consistently on ES with, but take a look at NQ. Again, guys, What I do on NQ is quite a bit different than ES. It's much more zoomed in. It's typically a negative risk to reward. It's still a fading somewhat from the extremes of price action, but it's much more zoomed in, specifically on price action. Wow, we really got a little bit of a divergence going with ES and NQ. But it's much more individual price action focused, much less level focused, and very heavy on order flow. It's also much more discretionary. It's much less objective. So, and I repeat that and say that. You might say like, okay, well, who cares, whatever. I think it's important to say that, right? It's harder for me to articulate when I'm applying a lot of my subjective interpretation of price action and market structure. It's not, hey, I'm waiting for this level to get swept and I'm going to enter long with a 10-point stop. It's not as simple as that. Here's the next question, right? How volatile is this? Can I work with one NQ and a $200 stop and take profit that I have set? I can. Yeah, we can start playing around on NQ. Uh-oh. It's starting. Trump is starting. All right. Well, we'll watch NQ. Watch NQ move around today. Taking a look at this right off the bat and pulling up NQ bookmap on the right-hand side. Wouldn't mind actually. This is actually setting up right here. I wouldn't mind a little long right off the 42s. Got a little bit of liquidity down there, right below these levels, the 42s. I think we either sweep down here, pop back up to this area of high volume, come back up on this candle, maybe through the highs, or we come all the way down through the lows. So I'm gonna look for a little something right down here, actually, guys. Hopped over and we got something interesting right off the bat. Again, lower risk per trade, right? This isn't going to give me too much room to work. This is a little bit volatile. So, but let's see. Let's see if we get a little sweep down here. Or do we come directly back to VWAP? Ooh. Check ES real quick.
Order filled.
Try a bad boy right here, guys. I'm going to see if we get a little bit of reversion out of this one. Yeah, there we go. I try to get pretty aggressive on stop losses, to break even, taking profits pretty quickly on these little scalp trades. But this is essentially the setups, right? Looking for sweeps of liquidity, small sweeps of liquidity, trading back towards areas of high volume. We start to pop to the upside. I'm going to take it. Typically, again, like I said, typically a negative risk to reward. There we go. Stop loss past break even. There we go. Quick little one-to-one on that one. Again, typically what you'll see me do. Sorry, I don't mean to repeat again. Someone said that. You say again too much. Typically what you'll see me do on these style trades, quick W. I'll go stop loss to break even once we get a move, right? Like if we just chop around or we start to go a little bit and then come back, I'm not going to go stop loss to break even. Once we start to pop, I want to take profit hit pretty quickly or I want to be out, right? Because I missed the opportunity to grab the profit. If we just sell off, which we could have, I'm just wrong, right? Take an L. As we start to pop up, that was a nice, wasn't a bad take profit. That was a gnarly reversion. We might come through this. I'm not sure. Otherwise, we're coming all the way back down to VWAP. If we start to pop in my direction, I'm starting with a fixed $200 take profit, $200 stop loss. I don't leave it there, right? I just limit out or I mark it out and at a level that makes sense. And then that's why I say, again, I typically end up with a negative risk to reward, right? Because if I'm grabbing winners quick, $100, $150, $180, or maybe even less, but when I take a stop out, it's a full stop out or a small break even, right? All that gets factored in. You end up with a very low winning trade versus losing trade average. So, well, for whatever that's worth. So, yeah, we could do this again. I gotta think about that. I gotta stop saying that. This is more aggressive. It traditionally, for me, my experience, will generate a much higher frequency of trades, and it will generate a lot of quick W's or quick L's. I usually don't go back and forth too much. I usually either take back-to-back L's or some back-to-back wins. It can be tough because if you're not really disciplined and you take 3 L's right back-to-back, you have to cut yourself off. And if you don't do that, you're in for a problem. Same with W's. You start to take some back-to-back W's. If you don't clip yourself and say, okay, I'm done, you're going to give it all back. So I'm always cautious showing this style of trading because I think it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the undisciplined or those that struggle with tilt or emotional control. Probably not extremely beginner focused, but it's funner to watch. You get more action, you get more trades on, you get more trade management, out of it. So for those reasons, I don't mind it. So let's watch. I don't have an immediate setup here. Taking a look at NQ. Start to pop to the upside. I'm gonna see about those levels overhead. Could look for a little reversion trade off of those. But quick W. We'll see. Again, we got Trump talking. Trump talking is a problem. So nice. Yeah, quick W on this one. Kick, what's going on? Y'all are quiet over here. Got a bunch of people on across socials, man. Appreciate you guys for hopping on. Got a ton of people watching. The combined is like 160, I think. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, little scalp trades. They don't add up to be much, and they're high frequency, but small base hits do add up. All it is a couple of those W's. Now you got a nice max profit in a 50K account, right? If you're looking for taking profit really quickly, and taking payouts really quickly, which I'm not any longer in these accounts. I'm looking to scale them. The goal is a live account. So it's going to be scaling up for large profit and getting kicked to a live account or blowing. That's the game plan for me going forward. I've talked about that a couple times, guys. Duck Race. Yeah, he's live. Watch out. Market starting. What about the cost for all those accounts? Jay and Irving, what do you mean? Oh, we're talking about for sim farming? For guys and girls that are blowing through accounts sim farming? You create a positive EV. You create a positive EV by eventually making it to a payout. Here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. I've tried to... It's kind of like somebody who has to go to... who goes to court, right? Like a lawyer, right? Or a... It's like a scientist. Oh, let me think about this. Hold on. What's the analogy? Okay, there it is. It's like a teacher in school who has to describe to the school children how to be safe and not do drugs and how to be cautious about, what drugs are, what they look like. And they kind of don't want to describe exactly how to go and get the drugs or to make the drugs, right? Kind of what I've tried to do with sim farming without exactly laying out, which is pretty obvious, but not really obvious because most people don't understand it. Not exactly laying out the prop firm model to the T and how it could be exploited, exactly what to do to sim farm, because I'd prefer more people not attempt to try to exploit it and just rip the opportunity away from undercapitalized traders and make firms tighten up. But I think I have to do a better job of explaining exactly what it is and explaining exactly how it works so you guys can understand the difference between what sim farming is, what it not is, and why traders complain when they get caught, and they should be caught and banned. But that's kind of like the dilemma that I've been in for a little bit, right? I don't want to do a demonstration of it because, it's appealing. It's appetizing. So here we are right back to VWAP, but like JNRVing, if that's what you're talking about, let me know and I'll go further into detail. I'm going to do a video on it. I'm going to do a whole video on it, or I'll come on here one day and we'll talk about it in even more detail and I'll clip it. But I'll do a whole video on it because it's misunderstood and it needs to be talked about. But nobody wants anybody to talk about that. The firms don't want anybody to talk about that. The sim farmers don't want anybody to talk about that. The regular traders don't care, don't know what you're talking about. It's either really not what anybody wants to hear anybody talk about, or nobody's interested. So anyway, let's see. Whose trades Who trades YM? He's a trade YM. Selling off back through VWAP. If I look at this on ES, just out of curiosity. Ooh, what's up, Project X? Don't lag on me. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hang on, chat. Project X lagging for anybody? Still lagging. Displaying the general screen if you guys want to check out Top 1 Futures. Codes pinned in the chat. Project X is not loading for me, and I have super duper fast internet. What did we do? I really wasn't swapping back and forth between anything either. It's kind of just hanging out. Okay, we loaded back up. Is it going to yell at me if I try to check out ES? No. That might have been on my end. So here's ES. Weird, though. I don't like when that happens. Here's ES sweeping overnight low. I came off of looking at this one for a potential long. If I was looking long, this is kind of the spot that I would want to be long on ES. Yeah, we're going to stay on NQ today. I already swapped over. I started trading it. I'm going to try not to swap back and forth too much. Obviously, ES way weaker than NQ today. NQ looking much more bullish. It's been above VWAP. Testing VWAP, pushing above. We're testing it right now. This is an interesting spot. I think we get either a crack right back up to the 750s or we sell off really aggressively through this. Looks like a crack back up so far. Let's see if we can't take a couple more scalpy trades if something interesting presents itself. That wasn't that bad for a long off of VWAP. Yeah, if ES is just going to keep putting me to sleep, I'm going to have to come over to NQ. Damn. Nice reversion. Look at that. Right back up to the 50s. 45s. Let's see. Yeah, straight back up on this one. That was a nice, it wasn't bad. That's a little aggressive to buy into, right? So I took a scalp for those of you that hopped on late just in this account. We watched ES all morning. Nothing happened. I'm going to hang out for a little while longer. Took a scalp right off of this level fill in here for a pop back up. I like it to be at least a little bit choppy consolidating. I try not to catch a falling knife. I will sometimes if we're near a key level or nice level of liquidity. But, you know, I'm operating with a pretty tight stop with these little scalp trades. I can't survive much of a wick down. And trying to find the bottom on something like this could be a little bit dicey. Not bad for a quick wick right back up. We didn't hit the... Did we hit the 50s? What did we trade? 49s. Yeah, it's a wait and see. Don't have a setup on this. We're in between two areas of higher volume. After selling off aggressively, hitting VWAP. This is a little bit more volatile than I want to deal with on these scalpy trades. We got liquidity above and below kind of all over the place on NQ in pretty light doses. So this is giving me something to work with. But I'm going to wait to see if we get some more movement to the upside or downside before I start looking for another one. Looks like it might be downside. Let's see. We can't copy trade instance with SimPro. No, you cannot. You cannot copy trade between account types with Top 1. It won't let you physically, which is good, which multiple people said, hey, make sure that doesn't happen. So you can't do that. No. I have no idea. All good. I feel like Project X was lagging. I thought it was price. Yeah, you guys saw that live, right? So, yeah, Project X has had a couple things, man. I really like this platform. I really like it. I like the way that it is laid out. I think it's clean. I like a trading view chart. I think it's pretty fast. But there's been some issues, man. I don't mind saying it. Again, I'm partnered and biased. It would behoove me not to say that, but I don't mind being honest with you guys. There's been quite a few outages. I think it's going to be great when we have more opportunities with top 1 futures for those that want to trade Tradeovate, Ninja, for example. I'm going to stick on Project X, but I don't like hearing issues like that. I really don't. Or seeing anything like that. We start to lag out. JNR Veen. JNR Veen. Thank you. I'm sorry, guys. I pronounce everybody's name jacked up all the time. You guys have all these crazy names. You're from all over the world. So am I. Try to pronounce my last name. You guys are from all over the world. And you also have these crazy usernames, so I always prevent them wrong. I try because I want to talk to people directly on here. So apologies, JNRV. My wife and I live in an RV. Initials JR. So we put them together. That's awesome, dude. RV life. That's sick. And you're trading? Damn. That's really cool. That's really cool. JNRV. Thank you. Thank you. That's cool. I hope you start to continue to make progress and make that work, because that's a crazy opportunity, right? You could travel all over, work from Wi-Fi in the mobile spot. That's sick. It's really cool. I think it was I couldn't tell. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see about that Project X. Trump. Yeah, so we got Trump talking, guys. This hasn't been too crazy yet. But anytime we have the U.S. Political sphere talking, giving comments, answering questions, anything, got to be cautious for an absolute knife or a crazy pump candle. I would be cautious right now. Multiple of you guys are calling out. Thank you. Trump talking it's just been insane. It's really been insane. Any little comment out of the U.S. administration on tariffs has been like an NFP, FOMC event. It's been wild. So, do with that information as you wish. Maybe you completely disregard it. Maybe you don't trade. You could probably watch it live somewhere. I'm not. I just like to make myself aware and say, well, I'm going to throw my trades on as I see fit. Could get smoked, right? Could absolutely get cooked. But maybe you get slipped, right? You got to be cautious. You throw a $200 stop in there. Maybe it's a $220 L if you get a really aggressive movement, maybe more, Yeah, so this really isn't a setup for me. I think we could come wake right back up here, take everybody out. It's going to get short through VWAP. So I'm actually tempted on a long again. This isn't that great. Hammering into VWAP here. Do I want this one? Do I want this long, chat? I'm looking at this long. I think it might play out. Yeah. If you watch my session from Friday, Power Hour, I had like 3 where I'm doing exactly what I just did, which was eyeballing it. The read is there. Hesitation, right? That's an account. It's an execution error. So let's just take a look and see. Watching this on order flow, which is why my head is cocked over here to the right-hand side, taking a look. Yeah, this looks like a bounce right back off of VWAP, sweep back up to the 750s. There's just what's keeping me out of this one. There's a little bit too much down here. A little bit too much down in the book down here in this big high volume area. I don't like it as much. I think we could hang out down here for a little bit and start chopping. If we're going to move lower, if we're going to move higher, I think a bounce right back up here, either way, would be pretty clean. Check this area out again, come through this pretty quickly, but I'm not going to throw it on. Up in Bar Harbor, Maine. Nice. This market movement feels like a holiday. Yeah, it's no news Monday. Nope. He can, what do we say here? I love Project X, especially how easy you can bracket order. Yeah. Project X is pretty sweet. Project X is pretty sweet. I like Project X. I think there could be more trade management features, more intuitive trade management features. Damn, I'm watching this thing, man. Eyeballing a trade here, guys. I don't know. Eyeballing along right around VWAP for a sweep back up to the 750s. I think that could be a move that we see out of NQ, whether or not we're going to move lower. But so far, we're hammering into VWAP and looking like we're selling off. And I think I stand the risk of fading a breakout here. This could be a break right down below this low towards the 710s. Yeah, this looks like the wick lower here. Hang on. Sorry guys, I don't mean to be not talking, but or reading the chat, but I'm focused up for a second. This is kind of an interesting area. Try this long from up here. That was a shitty fill. That was not a bad fill. That was a bad entry. Try this long from up here. I think we're gonna pop right back up here, back towards those 750s. But I wanted to stop below that low. That was me looking at Bookmap and coming back over and smashing that buy button. I like a pop back up on this. I think even if we move lower, we sweep back up here one more time, kind of take everybody out. But that was a garbage entry. Entry should have been 4.5 points lower. Stop loss should be down below this low. Not going to touch it now. There's really nothing to do besides look for this to move in my direction, go stop loss to break even, or take a stop. That was just a poor entry. But I'm long from 23,731. Stop at 23,721. There we go. We got a little pop. Stop loss is going to break even plus a couple ticks. See if we can't get a movement right up towards above these wicks. I'd look to take it. Otherwise, yep. Out for just above break even on that one. Might have been a little bit too aggressive, but I hated that. I hated that stop loss placement, that entry. You know, scalping like this, right? You really got to get your timing down because look at how quick these movements are. You know, on NQ, we're going to get very fast, 40 tick, 10-point movements. Got to be really cautious about when you're actually going to mark it in if that's what you're going to do, if you're not going to use limit orders. So let's see. Let's see if that one does bounce there. But yeah, I think this is going to be decent trade management. Actually, I still think we come up here and wick above. Maybe right here, but that was a garbage fill. Entry. I want to say fill. Fill implies that I entered at the area that I wanted to enter, and then the fill was bad. The entry itself was bad. My execution, not with Project X. It's important to designate. Yeah, selling off, so would have been almost a stop there. Yo, Jose, what's up? What's going on? Yeah, chat, this has been slow as hell, man. Excuse me. Small W, $200. I don't think I'm gonna push this. I'm not minding scalping NQ with you guys here. It's actually not bad, right? Because it's usually so damn volatile that NYSE morning session here on NQ is slow enough for me to scalp with one full mini. Usually middle of the day and power hour has been better. Give my boy those likes. Jose, what's up, dude? Appreciate you hopping on. Market movement feels like a holiday. Yeah, we're talking about that. Yeah, guys, I think I'm just gonna come back for power hour. Be checking out movement in power hour here. I think this is really choppy back and forth. We're hanging out around VWAP. We look like we were selling off a little bit, but I'm not gonna push my luck here in these conditions. I'd be more happy to come back for power hour with you guys right around 2:33 p.m. Get a second stream in. So That's going to be my play. If you tune back in for Power Hour, I'll tell you right now, we're going to run a duck race. At least one duck race for Power Hour. This session, we had a lot of good conversations. We're chilling. Not so great trading, but can't complain. A W and a break even, $200. Can't be upset with that. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up right here. Appreciate you guys for hopping on. Feel free to hop in the free Discord if you haven't already. I'll throw that in the chat. I have more people asking me for that than anything else these days. And I throw all of the information on everything we got going on in that 100% free trading Discord. No VIP, no course, none of that fun stuff. I run it free 99 here every damn day. See you guys about 2:30, 3 p.m. Eastern for Power Hour. We'll be doing more of what you just saw right here, scalping on NQ. I got a nice run going on NQ so far, scalping with you guys. I'm sure that's not going to continue for forever, but so far, not bad. Anyway, guys, quick disclaimer. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't provide financial advice. Nothing you see or hear from me is a suggestion or recommendation to do anything at all. Trading's very risky. Most traders lose money. I'm just an idiot here yapping on YouTube, X, and Kick, and anywhere else for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research. Make your own trading decisions. Read CFTC Rule 4.41 on simulated trading, which is what this is, even in funded prop firm accounts, and the affiliate and partnership disclaimer that says I stand to make money from links and codes in my content, like Top 1 Futures, code RDF, Bookmap, and others. Talk to you guys soon. See you this afternoon after a quick break. Let's run it, guys. Have a great trading day.